There is a story they tell in the north to frighten children on the long winter nights. It is the story of a hero, the last one, a man who walked into the heart of the longest winter the world has ever known, when the sun had hidden its face for a generation, and the dead walked in the dark. He set out with a sword, a horse, a dog, and 12 good men to find the children of the forest, the last power left that might save all of mankind. One by one, his companions died. Then his horse, then his dog. His sword froze so hard it snapped in his hand, and behind him in the snow came the cold things, silent, patient, always closer. And running ahead of them, hunting him, pale white spiders, big as hounds. And then the story stops. The teller is interrupted. The page falls silent. We never learn if he reached the children. We never learn what they gave him. We are never told how the long night was broken. We are only told that, somehow, it was. So tell me, how do you end a darkness that lasts a generation? And why, in 8,000 years, has no one ever been able to say for certain? Welcome to Westeros Within, where we journey into forgotten ages, hidden legends, and ancient mysteries. This is Mysteries of the Realm. Episode 23, The Last Hero, How the First Long Night Was Truly Broken. Let us be sure of what little we truly know. Long ago, perhaps 8,000 years, though the Meisters themselves do not trust that number, a winter fell upon the world that would not end. They called it the Long Night, a darkness that lasted a generation. Children were born and lived and died and never once saw a spring. And in that dark, something came down out of the uttermost north, the others, cold white shadows. They brought the frost with them, and they raised the dead to hunt the living. We know it ended. The songs call that ending the battle for the dawn. We know that afterward, men raised the wall and swore the night's watch to keep it. We know the sun came back, but how the war was actually won, what weapon, what hero, what bargain turned that endless night back into morning, on that, the histories cannot agree. Every people on earth remembers that the darkness ended. No two of them remember it the same way. So let us weigh the tellings. The first telling is the children's gift. Return to the last hero. And remember why he set out in the first place. Not to swing a sword. To find the children of the forest. For their ancient magics, the tale says, to win back what the armies of men had lost. So the real question is this: what did the children have that men did not? We may actually know the answer. Dragonglass, obsidian. The black volcanic glass the children carved into blades. Because thousands of years later, a sworn brother of the Night's Watch, a frightened man, no warrior at all, drove a dragonglass dagger into one of the others, and it shrank, and it shriveled, and it dwindled away into nothing but a wet patch on the snow. Obsidian kills them. That is not a theory. That is a thing witnessed. And the children had it. The children carved it. For centuries afterward, they sent it to the Watch, a gift of obsidian, dragonglass blades, and arrowheads year after year. Men even found a cache of it, buried and waiting beneath the frozen ground at the fist of the first men. So the chain seems whole. The hero sought the children. The children had the weapon. The weapon works. But here is where the tale betrays us, because it breaks off. One sentence before it tells us whether he ever reached them. We assume he did. We assume they armed him. The only telling we have never actually says so. And there is a harder problem still. A shard of obsidian can kill a single other, blade to blade. But it does not stop the dead, the risen corpses, the whites, that come in their thousands. A dagger is not a victory in a war that lasted a generation. The children may have given men the knife, but a knife is not how you end a night that long. The second telling is the wall and the watch. This is the version the Meisters prefer, the tidy one, the official one. Here, the darkness was not broken by one wandering hero at all. It was broken by organized men, and then sealed away forever by the work of one of them. Brandon, the man they called the Builder, who raised the wall at the edge of the world, 700 feet of ice, to hold the cold out for all time. And the Night's Watch, sworn to keep it, for as long as men endured, and you cannot argue with the result. Whatever happened in that last battle, the others vanished afterward. For 8,000 years, the wall held, the watch held. By the only measure that matters, it worked. But look closer, and the official story comes quietly apart in your hands. A wall keeps an enemy out. It does not explain how that enemy was beaten in the first place. And you cannot raise 700 feet of ice in the middle of an endless winter, with the dead at your back. The wall is the thing they built after the war was already won. It tells us about the aftermath. It tells us nothing about the victory. And then there is the matter of the magic. For the wall is more than ice and stone. There are old spells bound inside it. The dead cannot cross it. But those spells were not the work of men. The old tales hold that the wall was raised with the help of the giants, and that the magic bound within it bears the mark of the children. The thing that makes the wall truly work came from them, not from us. So the men in gray chains tell us that men won. But even their own story leans, in the end, on the magic of others. The third telling is one they do not like to say aloud. What if no one won at all? What if the others were never beaten, only bought off? I know how that sounds, so let me take you beyond the wall, into our own age, to a man named Craster, a wildling who lives alone in the haunted forest, untouched, while every other living soul out there is slaughtered or driven south. How? Because Craster gives the cold gods their due. He takes his own newborn sons, and he leaves them out in the snow. And something comes for them, and in return, it lets him live. One squalid man, a private treaty, with the things that ended the world. And if one man can strike that bargain, with a knife and a newborn, why not a kingdom? 8,000 years ago, at the end of a war it was losing. There is an older shadow here too. The Watch remembers, barely, a 13th Lord Commander. The one they will not name. The man who took a woman with skin white as the moon and eyes like blue stars, who gave her his seed and his soul, and ruled from the Night Fort for 13 years, making sacrifices to the others. They tore his name out of every record that ever held it. You do not erase a man that completely for losing a battle. You erase him for telling a truth. I have to be honest with you. There is no account anywhere that says the long night ended in a pact. This is the darkest reading of thin and frightening clues. But the clues are real. The others take offerings. Men have bargained with them before. What if we won? Is only the story the survivors agreed to tell. The fourth telling comes from far away. Travel east, past the free cities, past the bones of old Valyria, to the shadowed lands at the edge of the map. And you will hear the same long night remembered, but with a different hero and a different ending. There, they speak of Azor Ahai, a champion who forged a sword to fight the dark. Twice the steel shattered, once tempered in water, once in the heart of a lion. And so the third time, he drove the finished blade through the living heart of his own beloved wife, Nissa Nissa, and her cry cracked the face of the moon, and her soul passed into the steel. They called that sword Lightbringer, and with it, they say, he drove back the darkness and brought the dawn. 2 heroes, 1 night. And here is the strange part. It is not only the East. Wander the whole world, and you find the same savior under a dozen different names. The last hero, here in the north, Hirkun the hero in the east, and others besides. Some maesters have wondered whether all these names are not many heroes at all, but one. A single deliverance, remembered by every people who lived through it, each in their own tongue, each in their own faith. But a warning comes with this telling. Azor Ahai is a story kept by a religion, the followers of the Red God, and a faith has every reason to make its own champion the one who saved the world. As a wise old maester once said, prophecy is like a half-trained mule. The moment you trust in it, it kicks you in the head. No account from Westeros has ever said a burning sword ended our long night. Perhaps Azor Ahai and the last hero are the same man. Perhaps they are two. Or perhaps the only truth is that frightened people all across the world needed to believe that someone had saved them. So what do I believe? I believe the last hero was real, or that someone like him was. And I believe he reached the children, because of the one solid thing in all of this, the obsidian. It is the only weapon we have ever seen truly kill an other, and it was the children's to give. That chain is too clean to ignore. I think they put into mankind's hands the means to fight back, and I think the battle for the dawn was won with black glass and desperate courage. But the Pact will not leave me, because the dead did not die at the end of the long night. They withdrew. They went north into the cold and waited. And a thing that withdraws is a thing that may have been promised something. Maybe the dawn was a victory, or maybe it was only a truce, and the price has been quietly coming due, in the dark beyond the wall, ever since. The tale breaks off before the ending. And perhaps that is not because the ending was lost. Perhaps it is because it was never the kind of ending anyone wanted to write down. So tell me this. How do you believe the first long night was broken? The children's black glass, the wall and the watch, a burning sword, or a bargain no one dared to remember? Write it in the comments. I read every theory. And if you want to be here when we unravel the next mystery, subscribe to Westeros Within and join me for the next chapter.